It's like completing a rolling jigsaw puzzle. That's what our guest today and her team do here at Metro. We're going to meet Jessica Miller, who is the Chief of Planning and System Development. Recently, the team has had a really great challenge, and that has been how to do the most good for the most people with $12 million that's been appropriated by the state of Missouri. The public has had a chance to weigh in on what they think about the plan, and now we're here to hear from Jessica about how we're going to roll forward. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Diane.
Yeah. So what can the region expect with this new restoration plan?
Sure. Well, with the $12 million appropriation from the state of Missouri, Metro developed first a preliminary service restoration plan, as we do with all of our planning efforts. We presented that to the public over the past month, and we released a final plan for restoring service. And this plan is in response to those public comments we received. So altogether, the final plan restores over a third of the service that was eliminated on March 30th.
That's going to be great for the public.
Absolutely.
How does it break down in terms of geographic changes? Is that how you
Well,
looked
about
at it?
half of the service that we're restoring is what we call a geographic change. So that means we are restoring a route that was eliminated completely. In many cases, we're extending routes that were shortened on March 30th. Let's take the Olive route, for example. Today it ends at Interstate 270, and pre-March 30th, it extended all the way to Chesterfield Parkway. With this service restoration, we're going to restore that remaining service.
That should be really exciting for a lot of people who have been talking to Metro about how it's been difficult to get around without that service.
Absolutely.
So you've heard from hundreds of people, and can you tell me a little bit about what their priorities were when you took public comment?
Sure. First, I want to tell you the mood from the customers was very positive. They're very excited about having their service restored. It's been a long couple of months for them. Some of the priorities that we were hearing was requests to restore service in some of the areas where it was completely eliminated, and in the preliminary plan we did not have any provision for service included. This includes parts of northeast St. Louis County, southeast St. Louis County, southern parts of the city of St. Louis, and other routes that we hadn't planned on restoring or hadn't planned on restoring fully. Customers commented on those. The 97 Delmar, for example, on March 30th, we shortened that to the Delmar station, and it used to go all the way into Clayton, and we heard from many customers who would like to see that service return to Clayton.
So that was a really popular extension to that route.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, the governor is expected to sign the bill, and the board will give its final approval. Can you talk about any others besides the one that you just mentioned in Delmar, specific routes that people will see back again or see differently this time?
Sure. Well, I'll tell you about a class of routes, our express routes. They're a very popular type of service, and with this restoration plan, we're going to bring back 4 of our express routes, including the Halls Ferry Express, our Twin Oaks Express, our Eureka Express, and our I-55 Melville Express.
So that'll handle people who are traveling great distances and will help them get to the core of our community faster.
Absolutely. And we've created some route combinations in places where we weren't able to restore all of the routes. We have a combination route in South St. Louis County where we used to operate the 17 Oakville and the 46 Sesson Ferry, and so we have a combo route that we're putting in instead that will cover most of that area. We have other routes that have large extensions like that Olive. The 49 Lindbergh, today that stops at Ballas Road and I-64. With the service restoration, we're going to continue that south into South St. Louis County all the way to Jefferson Barracks. So that's going to be a really critical link for South St. Louis County to the rest of the metro system and to the region.
You know, you just made a really good point that I don't think our viewers sometimes think about. It was not take a route, restore a route. It was getting really creative to see how you could combine things and create new things to serve as many people as possible.
Absolutely. Again, this restores only a little over a third of the service that was eliminated, so we really must be creative, and our primary objective is providing service to the greatest number of people. So in many cases that means a lower level of service, perhaps less frequently than they enjoyed prior to the service cuts, but it is some level of service, and that means access to jobs.
They can get there.
Yes.
That has been really important to people. Well, curious, changed Metrolink?
Actually, in this plan, we have not proposed any change to Metrolink. We received many customer comments about this. In fact, the revised service restoration plan addresses about 90% of the customer comments that we received during our community engagement. Most of
90%.
those, yeah, it's pretty high, and most of those 10% of the comments that we haven't addressed are for more Metrolink service. We looked very closely at restoring Metrolink, focusing primarily just on the rush hour time. Now, as you know, prior to the service reductions, we ran trains on our red line and our blue line every 10 minutes. Today, we're at 15 minutes.
And that's during rush hour?
During rush hour, yeah, and we considered the option of bringing that back to 10-minute frequency. The cost is pretty prohibitive, and at this time we're not exceeding what we call our service standard capacity. So for each route we do have well-defined measurements for what kinds of passenger loads we can tolerate, and on Metrolink we haven't exceeded that. Now that said, it's an important service, of course. With a higher level of funding, this could be something that we would see enhanced in the future.
So that could be something if more funds became available.
Absolutely,
that you'd
yeah.
see.
Metrolink is a high priority if additional funds become available. But again, for Metrolink customers, that's still an option today. So our focus with just restoring about a third of the service is to create connections where today there are none.
I understand. And you were talking about our capacity and our loads. And while we're more crowded now than people have been accustomed to, they can still get on the train.
Right.
But it's a little different on some of our bus lines.
That's
that
true.
buses are actually passing people because there's physically no room for them to get on the bus.
That's true.
So that's been your priority.
Yeah, and about 16% of the funds from the service restoration package are devoted to increasing frequency on some of our busiest bus routes. The 70 Grand route, for example, during all times of the day, over the last month or so, we've been passing customers up. Some of our other routes have capacity issues during select times. The 61 Chambers route, which runs east to west in North St. Louis County, carries very heavy passenger volumes at an early rush hour time, so 5, 6 in the morning, and then again in 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're going to add frequency to that route.
Okay.
The number 11 Chippewa in the city also is a route that's going to have additional frequency.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot that's going to be offered to our customers that they didn't have before. So that we don't try to go into too much detail, let's just mention that people on this website can see all of the plan in its entirety at metrostlouis.org. So you can see that. Tell us when. We're waiting. When will people see the change?
Our implementation date is August the 3rd. That's a Monday, and I'm pleased to report that we are on target to begin operating service on August the 3rd. We've already set into motion all of the activities that need to take place to get that going, developing the plans and the schedules and maps, and of course we'll be recalling a portion of our workforce to actually operate that service.
It's going to be good for this workforce, but the workforce of the community and the employers in the community.
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, thank you for your time and for all that information. Please join us again at Customer Focus. Meanwhile, we'll be looking forward to the things that are returning to our community in terms of bus service as well as service to people with disabilities. We'll see you next time on Customer Focus.